what do you think is still needed to ensure that every single American, no matter their background, has the ability to easily, vote in this country?
I think what we really need is a fundamental guarantee of voting rights in this country that says that you have the right to vote, except for XYZ very good reason. Because we have things that you can't do in this country. We supposedly can't disenfranchise people based on their race or based on their age or based on their gender. Now, in practice, those things happen, but we don't have anything that just broadly guarantees the right to vote. And I think that's one reason why voting rights remain such a contested issue in our country, because we've never really put it into our Constitution to protect it. And if you look at the debates over the 15th Amendment, there was a more expansive version of the 15th Amendment that was written that would have banned voter suppression, not just based on race, but based on class and education as well. But the point is that the fact that the 15th Amendment wasn't as broad as it could have been left loopholes for voter suppression. I think that's still the case today, that if you look at the Supreme Court, when these voting cases go before the Supreme Court, they're challenged under the 14th Amendment, they're challenged over the 15th Amendment. But there's no amendment that just says, you guys shouldn't make it harder to vote unless you have a really good reason to do so. I mean, you would have to have a more eloquent drafting of it, but that's basically what I'm saying, what we need, that voting rights are such a fundamental right that they really should not be abridged unless there's a really good reason to do so. We don't have that language in our Constitution.
And just so, I guess I'm trying to think of an example. So to give an example, I was born in the United States. Should I date myself? I'll date myself in 1982. And so
that's
that
when
means,
I was born.
Oh my gosh. What's your birthday?
May 21st, 1982.
Oh man, you're an old man. I was born August 13th. So, both of us, we are guaranteed citizenship since we were born in the United States. In other words, that can't be taken away from us. And so I guess, to compare it to what you're saying, you're stating that a citizen, one of their guarantees of citizenship would be the right to vote, and it cannot be taken away. Like this whole idea of even registration, you have to register to vote. That you could lose your vote when you go to prison, or you could lose your vote. You're saying that would not be possible. We would always have our right to vote. And then you're also saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that it would clearly state that any effort that precludes a person from voting, makes it difficult for a person from voting, is unconstitutional.
Yes. And I guess I would say I would like the right to vote to be looked at more like the First Amendment, which is that we're born with freedom of speech. It's not conferred upon us. We don't get freedom of speech when we're 18, right? We have it based on a guarantee in our Constitution, but we don't have that same guarantee. I have to affirmatively register to vote when I turn 18. I have to possibly show other forms of documentation, depending on what state I live in. If I commit a crime, I could be stripped of the right to vote, potentially for life, depending on what state I live in. If I have to move, I have to re-register to vote. I have to affirmatively seek out what my polling place is, all of those kind of things. And so I'm not saying that people shouldn't have to do anything to be able to qualify for voting, but I think it would be a big shift in terms of voter participation if we said that voting is a right that can't be taken away from you. In Australia, they have mandatory voting. And the reason they have mandatory voting is because they don't view voting as a right or a privilege. They view voting as a responsibility, that it's just something that you do. I would like to think we don't need that. We don't need to force people to do it. But it's an interesting experiment in that if voting is compulsory, there's no such thing as voter suppression. The state can't say you have to vote and then prevent you from doing so. And so I think in America, we think, oh, we're doing everything better than everywhere else. But in fact, our political system and our voting system is probably more screwed up and backwards than virtually any other advanced industrial democracy.